All right. So I just sit right here, just like this.
Yep, just please sit down.
Okay.
Are you all right?
Yeah. All right. Good. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Don't really get interviewed all that often.
Okay then.
Okay.
Are you ready to get going?
Yeah. Let's get started. I'm ready. Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness. First question, what do you hope your future is like?
Oh gosh. Wow, that's a big question right away. What do I hope my future is like?
Yep.
I don't know.
Just answer the question.
Yeah, I don't know. Guess I would just hope to accomplish all of my dreams.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, that's not incredibly helpful. What are your dreams?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I would love to get married and have a family someday, play catch in the yard with my kids. I'd love not to drive a van anymore. That'd be great. Maybe, a growth spurt would be fun. Maybe grow a couple more inches. I think writing a book would be fun. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say. I think ultimately I just want to have made a difference in people's lives because of how much I loved them and cared for them. But other than that, I don't know. Own a boat, maybe? I don't know. It's impossible. I don't know. I wish it would be great if I could have like the future version of me sitting right here getting interviewed with me, you know? He could just tell me what to do. But yeah, it'd be fun to just have a picture into what my future would look like.
Well then, do we have quite the surprise for you?
What? Oh, guess what? Ta-da! Wait, what? What's going on? Who are you? I'm you from the future. What? No, you're not. We look exactly the same. How are you guys doing this? No, I'm really you. All right, then prove it. Tell me something about myself that only I know. Let's see. You like to shower with the lights off. How did you know that? 'Cause I'm you. From the future? That's impossible. How old are you? I'm 26. See, you're not from the future. I'm 26. No, but I'm you from November 2nd. What? That's a week and a half. Yeah, but it's still the future. So, well, what happens in the next 2 weeks? Is anything different? Do I still drive a van? What? Yes, of course. That's ridiculous. It's only been 10 days. But I do have a message for you. A message from the future? Yep. Mike wanted me to give you this. No, wait, no. How many of you have had surgery before? I remember when I was 7 years old, I had the most severe and significant injury of my life. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was going to go next door to play hockey in the street with my best friend Tyler, and so I strapped on my rollerblades and I grabbed my stick and I headed on my way. And fun fact for all of you who are wondering, my parents' house has a pretty steep driveway, and it's nothing crazy, but it'll put a little shake in your wheels on your way down if you're not careful. And so I headed on my way. And now I know what you're all thinking. You're like, do you see where this is going, Jeff? He gets going fast down a steep hill, almost dies. We all have a good laugh, and story over. But I did not fall down because I was going too fast. I fell down because my new rollerblades that my mom picked up for me at the garage sale for 50 cents weren't exactly state of the art. In fact, the brakes were so worn that there was nothing there left. And unfortunately, I didn't make that discovery until about halfway down the driveway, and my 7-year-old self didn't know how to do a drag foot stop quite yet. And so I just kept pulling my foot back, hoping that it would eventually catch on to something and I'd start to slow down. But what I did instead was catch a little bit of my whole body and face on the garbage cans that were at the end of the driveway for the garbage man to pick up in the morning. And yes, they were very full. My dad must have been getting rid of all the concrete we were keeping around the house. Like, they were solid enough that it clipped my body, it snapped my left humerus in half, it stretched out and damaged the nerves in my arm, and it spun me around and down to the ground without moving all that much at all. Thankfully, though, as I lie there screaming bloody murder, 2 high school guys who lived down the street, they were walking by, and they used their context clues and sensed that I was in some sort of distress, and they went up to my parents' front door and asked them, "Hey, is that your kid screaming in the street by chance?" It was. But my mom, she rushed out to get me, and she helped me up, brings me inside through the garage where our laundry room was, and helped me to get my coat off so she could see my arm, because I must have clued her in on our walk up the driveway that my arm hurt a little. And I just remember, I'll never forget this. She helped me get my coat off, and my arm just flopped straight down. Like there was no stopping it. And also, I'll never forget this either. I got my arm up onto the washing machine, and as I just sit there and look at it, completely in shock. Like I had stopped crying at this point. I couldn't feel much, because of the nerve damage, but I had my arm up there on the washing machine, and I just tried to move it up and down. But the thing was, only from here up moved, while my complete elbow plus a few inches up just stayed completely flat on the washing machine. And that's when I started crying a little, because elbows aren't supposed to do that. And so we rushed to the hospital. I got in right away. Thankfully, there wasn't much competition in the emergency waiting room, and I headed up to a 3.5-hour surgery where they worked on my nerves. They pinned up my arm, and they put me in a soft cast. And I had to have a cast on for months. And once the swelling went down, I got a hard cast. And I remember I still played baseball that year. I just had to bat with one arm across my body. And you're probably thinking, Jeff, why would you play baseball when your arm is in too many pieces? And the answer is because I'm tough, guys. Obviously, I think. Surprised you didn't know that. But thankfully, I can look back and laugh at that story now. Like, praise God that my nerves healed right and that I have full mobility. And thankfully, my arm healed well enough that I haven't really noticed it much in my life. But even though I got a fun story out of the deal and my parents got a few fun hospital bills, I'm sure, I still wish I would have seen it coming. Like, I still wish I didn't body slam those garbage cans. Like, I'm just saying, it might have been more fun to just be more careful and go play hockey instead of playing surgery. But as much as I sometimes wish I could see into the future, I can't. I've tried, but I can't. And what I want to spend some time talking about today is the fact that we all have a future. Like, we've already talked about how we have a past and a present and how God can make those things valuable. But today we're talking about our future. Because I don't know about you, but I can't even think of how many times I've wished, like, man, I just wish I knew what was going to happen. Or I wish I knew how this would turn out. But unfortunately, like, as much as I know we'd all love to fast forward our lives into the future sometimes, I'm pretty sure that's still impossible, at least for now. And so our challenge today is to learn how to trust our tomorrows to the one who knows exactly what's in our futures. And really, that's the main idea for today, is that you have a future that God can be trusted to hold. And someone whose story that we've been looking at, because it gives us just an honest and raw look into his struggle and faithfulness in living this out, is Moses. Like, God called Moses to lead the Israelites out of their slavery to Egypt. And initially, Moses was like, I don't want to. Like, not me. Because that's scary. Like, it just seemed like certain death. I mean, imagine just being in Moses' shoes and having these ties to both sides in the situation, like wanting freedom and better lives for the nation that he belongs to, while at the same time understanding what could be done to him by the nation that raised him. Like, I can't imagine how far down Moses' gut fell when God told Moses to lead, because the future is scary. Like, it's uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen, or we do one worse and we just convince ourselves that only our worst case scenario ideas about the future are going to happen. But let me just say, like, one of the best and most freeing parts about being a Christian is that we don't have to live in our own uncertainty, but we get to lean on God's certainty. And I'll be honest, that takes trust. Like, things might not turn out how you want them, but I guarantee you they will turn out well, because God works all things together for those who trust him. I mean, just look at Moses. Do you think his first choice was stand up in defiance of Pharaoh, like face possible death, torture, and even pushback and fear from his own people who were supposed to be on his side? Like, no, not at all. In fact, he was pretty clear about not wanting the job, because for all Moses knew, he would be walking towards certain death. But God, he had a plan for Moses' future, even if Moses couldn't see it. Like, even though Moses feared, he doubted, and questioned the future God had in mind, God kept showing up and keeping promises. And although Moses needed a lot of reminders, God kept saying, in my hands, your future is good. And it was. And let me just pause right there for a second about those few words. Moses needed a lot of reminders. Did you hear that? Moses, like the one that everybody's heard of because of the amazing things he did. The Moses that is mentioned in the New Testament of the Bible more than any other Old Testament figure. The Moses that Jesus taught about. That guy, Moses, he needed a lot of reminders. Like, oh man, what a relief, right? Because how many times do we read Bible stories or hear sermons about them and feel like they're just saying, like, well, you need to be more like Moses because he led a whole nation out of slavery and all you've done is not spill chili on your shirt today. And so could you just get your act together? Just trust God one time, like every time like Moses did, and just do something? But if we actually read the story, we see how scared Moses was, like how uncertain he was, how unconvinced of his own greatness he was, because he was afraid of what the future might hold, which is why he needed a lot of reminders about who God is and who he created him to be. Like, he needed to be reminded that God can be trusted to hold his future. And what we see is that when Moses moved past his fear and trusted God with his future and obeyed his call, God delivered an entire nation from bondage into freedom. And Moses, he continued leading God's people until the day he died. And what's crazy is that God is still using this story to make an impact today. And so when you hear this stuff, what does it make you think about your future? Like, are you still thinking like, yeah, but that's Moses? Let me just give you the reminder that Moses needed over and over again. Moses on his own didn't do anything great. It was God through Moses who did great things. Like, it was when Moses said yes, like, here we go, God, that great things happened that has continued to impact their future. Like, Moses trusted God with his future, and just look what happened. And just like Moses, we're invited to trust God with our futures, which they might hold pain or joy or success or failure. More than likely, they'll hold a little bit of everything. Like, we won't know what our futures hold until we get there, but we do know that God can be trusted with our futures. Because listen, when we live our lives apart from God, the future is a scary place. It's uncertain, it puts all the pressure onto us, it's scary. But when we trust God with our past, our present, and our future, the future can be pretty exciting. Like, just like Moses, you have a past that God can redeem. You have a present that God can use, and you have a future that God can be trusted to hold. And so what I want to do now, I want to spend some time together today thinking about and talking about these three questions when it comes to your future. And so when it comes to your future, what do you want to do? Or who do you want to be? And what are you going to do? Like, what's your next step? Because let me just say, and I'll close with this, trusting your future to God doesn't mean just sitting back and seeing what happens. Like, it requires action. It means boldly pursuing the passions that He's giving you and trusting Him as you progress in life. I think there's a lot of people who are just sitting back, playing video games all day, covered in Dorito crumbs and a layer of smell that could repel any living thing, and they're just saying like, yeah, I'm just sitting back, trusting God with my life. If He wants to do something, go for it. I'm just gonna let me be me. And it's like, yeah, okay, you be you, but you be a you that's like progressing in life. Like, the blessing of trusting God with your life isn't that you won't have any hardship in your life, or that you can just sit back and let Him do all the work. No, the blessing of trusting God with your life is that you have nothing to fear as He works through you. Like, you see, you have a purpose that is so much bigger than yourself. And you have a God who is willing to take you on an adventure and use you in ways that you never thought possible. Like, you, like Moses, can be used by God to make an impact on the world around you. Like, you have hope, you have a future, and in God's hands, your future is good. And so as we think about those three questions, like, what's your answer? Like, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? And what are you going to do about it? $26. 6. Yep. Let's try that again. What? Yes. You're fine. You're Yep. Let me grab Mike. He wanted me to grab you. This. All right. Give you this. See, I'll have the ball in the next shot. I hope. See ya. From the future? How that's impossible. How Words are hard. No.